Hello everyone, and welcome back to Unity of Command. This is the campaign scenario Leningrad from the Red Turn DLC. January the 14th, 1944. Leningrad has been under siege since late 1941. It is time to lift the siege and push Army Group North back into the Baltic states. Right. This is an interesting scenario in many ways. First of all, it's the first one that opens up the northern route or northern path on the campaign map. Also, it's the first one that takes place in 1944, so welcome to 1944. We are going to have a lot of huge victories this year. This is the year that the Axis forces were completely crushed and could no longer replace the losses. Another thing is that if we look at the unit allocation, we can immediately see that there are no tank formations on either side, and that's not going to change even with reinforcements coming. Actually there are a lot of reinforcements on our side, believe it or not. It's a unique scenario in many ways, and you can see that the scenario designer intended that it merited 300 points for a perfect completion, thereby grouping it together with some of the easiest scenarios of the game. But I have no idea if I agree with that. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, maybe or maybe I just don't understand pure infantry warfare so much. But for me this was another very difficult scenario, and it was actually kind of tedious to trudge through the previous one, which was truly difficult, Rovno Korsun, and this one which was a slightly bit less oppressing, but it took me a lot of tries, definitely more than 5 tries, and even in the end I don't think that I cracked the nut here. I got the victory, the brilliant victory, without any prestige spending, sure, but I'm not sure that my strategy is on par or up to the level, so watch this video at your own risk. I figured out a lot of small things, so small aspects of the map, so at the very least thereby I can help with that I can help with at the very least. So this is the whole map, and already you can see that there are, as I've said, there are only infantry units. What's interesting to note is that on our side there are only standard infantry units, so no cavalry anywhere, and on the enemy side the only units that move faster than 3+1 steps or hexes per turn are 2 Jaeger units here, and this SS motorized division, which is the best unit on the battlefield bar none. And let's take a look at the objectives, and then I'll talk a bit more about the map itself. So we have 3 objectives to it. I think each and every one of them is very difficult. I failed several attempts trying to crack the Novgorod, the first one. Narva has eluded me several times, and I was actually very lucky to capture Pskov in this attempt, as you're going to see. But I do know what needs to be, absolutely know what needs to be done regarding Novgorod. At the very least I can help you with that one. So let's see with the first one. Novgorod, one of Russia's most important historic cities, to be captured by the end of turn 3. Alright? It's right in front of us. We are standing on the other side of the river, so I'm going to show you how it can be done, how it must be done. By the end I had a 100% success rate capturing this city. Not necessarily holding it, but capturing it at least. Then River Narva in the extreme northwest. Reaching the river will allow us to assault the Panther and capture Narva. Alright? To be taken by the end of turn 7, and you might think that that's a very generous time limit because it's right next to us. There's only a couple of hexes there and not many units. But that's not really the case. It's actually a difficult one to capture. This unit is dug in, and it's not easy to get out of there. Get it out of there. Then we have Pskov in the extreme southwest. Liberating Pskov opens up the road to Estonia and beyond, to be taken by the end of turn 9. Now turn 9 is like, you think you have a lot of time getting there, but as I've just mentioned, all our units are extremely slow, you can immediately see that the terrain is horrible. It's very difficult. So it is actually not at all a generous objective. We barely made it in this attempt as well. You don't need to worry about whether it's going to be cold, snowy terrain, basically all throughout the scenario, so no storms are expected. But we do need to worry about the terrain itself. So first of all, in the east, you can separate this map into like 3 main front sectors. Maybe the northern one you can also separate further to 2 different ones. But the idea is that the 2 front sectors in the east, we start out behind the river line, and we need to kind of force a crossing. And of course that's difficult in itself, but the problem is that also beyond the river the area is horrible. It's swampy, a lot of forests, and even the supply route goes through the forest, so it's not like you can take the fastest route if you want to secure your advance. In the very north, the terrain is acceptable. It's open, so we can at least move about a bit and have wage some offensive warfare. But yeah, you have to realize, you have to constantly be aware of the terrain. You have to switch to this view all the time, because it affects your movement, it affects your supply, and it's overall very tedious. Another huge issue is that we cannot really get far from the river, because as you're going to see, our supply obviously comes from beyond the river. And and since even if you break through here at Novgorod or in the extreme southeast, once you start marching west, then your units are going to run out of supply. The only supply route is here in the middle, and it's a north-south path, so you absolutely must secure it. And with that, let's take a look at supply. We have a bunch of supply sources. Here 2 are off-road. I don't know why we needed 2 here, but whatever. These are not going to be sufficient for anything else apart from what I mentioned. So cross the river, and just beyond the river you'll still be okay refueling, resupplying. There is another one on the road, technically, but it's going to be quite a while before we capture this hex and we manage to advance beyond the river. And even there, it doesn't reach very long due to the difficulty of the terrain. As you can see, the supply line itself goes towards the northwest. In the north, we have 3 supply sources, 1 off-road with a range of 2. I don't understand this one. One other off-road also with a range of 8, that is next to a bridge, so it actually starts counting from this hex, from south of the bridge. And the main one, the only one that you need to worry about, is in Leningrad, also with a range of 8, and it is on the supply line network. It's absolutely a necessity. I mean, otherwise this scenario couldn't be won. And the AI will attempt to capture this one, and if it does and you cannot immediately destroy the unit holding it and recapture this hex, then you will have lost the map. So that has happened to me more than once. So not only do you have to advance tediously and trudgingly forwards, but you also have to constantly make sure that the AI doesn't get a chance to counterattack and just make you fail the mission. As for the AI's supply is awesome. It also has 2 supply sources. Both of them are on road, and both of them have a range of 8. In my view, you cannot cut off really large number of forces from supply. The southeast is already cut off, interestingly, so supply simply doesn't reach there. It's too far. So the AI will start to retreat. We'll talk about it in a moment. The only exception to this is this area. You can actually cut them off here, and I think a few of them at least are already running out of supply. But here we are going to make a pocket, and we're going to eliminate that pocket with quite a few units inside. Everywhere else you just have to fight practically head on. But I do think that at Narva you have to cut them off by crossing the river and then capturing the city itself, actually, because this bridgehead is on the other side of the river. It's a forest hex, by the way. So thereby eliminating it. I think it's relatively easy to capture this supply source, but you will never eliminate the one in the south. All right, units. Now, units are not interesting and interesting at the same time. On our side, we only have standard infantry units, but all of them are have standard level experience, and all of them have 7 steps. And literally each and every one of them has a specialist step, so 7 + 1 steps. You would think that's great, but what that means is that you cannot really reorganize units, because then you would permanently lose the specialist step, which you cannot reallocate anywhere else, right? Because and no unit can have two specialist steps attached to it. So what that means is that you will constantly have to just resupply, so to speak, or reinforce your units with reinforcements that is coming up in a constant stream. Actually, already on turn 1 we get 9 steps. On turn 2 we get further 9 steps, infantry steps, to reinforce units with, and then every second turn, I guess, until turn 6, if I recall correctly. So first, second, fourth, and sixth turn, each we get 7 infantry steps, which is awesome, but which is also required, because what's going to happen is we are going to suffer casualties, quite a large amount, and then we will have to immediately replenish them with the reinforcements we have available. As for the AI's forces, all of them are infantry units. There are only but there are quite a few interesting ones. So first of all, not only standard infantry units, we have these Luftwaffe units, which are weaker, so you have to be mindful of where you attack. These units are considerably weaker. The defense stat is the same, but its attack stat is much lower. It also has 2 Jaeger units, which we know to be a bit weaker than the standard infantry, but it's also faster, and on this map 1 hex extra movement is it amounts to a lot, because everything is going to go very slowly. These are the 2 Jaeger units. Apart from this, we have quite a few SS formations, which are not really that scary. We have the 15th and the 19th Waffengrenadier Divisionen. These are Latvians conscripted into the Waffen-SS. Some volunteered, but most of them were conscripted. So they are not Germans. They have standard level experience, 4 steps each. This is not a scary unit, but this one on the Victory Hex actually has entrenchment in a forest, and over time the AI is going to reinforce it heavily, and it's going to put up a hell of a fight. It's much stronger than you might imagine it to be. So that's why I think that you should cut them off here. The other reason is the Nordland SS Motorized Division, which is the strongest unit on the battlefield. It's one of only 2 units that starts out as veteran. We will gain a lot of experience actually, but this already starts out as veteran, 5 steps, and it's a motorized division, so it has very good stats. I don't know what you should do about it. What I've done always is try to cut it off and starve it out of supply, and eventually I manage, and just, until then, just take the damage it deals out, and just accept it. This might not be the perfect approach. Maybe you want to sacrifice some units to take it out, and it will make your life in the northwestern sector much easier. We also have the Nederland right next to it. So the Nordland consists of mostly Norwegian and Danish Scandinavian volunteers. The Nederland is, of course, a Dutch volunteer unit. It's a standard SS infantry veteran, and currently it's entrenched, but once it moves out, it's not that scary. It only has 4 steps, so you should not be afraid to assault it with some of your better units. We, of course, have a lot of good specialist steps. The AI has none and receives none either. So we should make use of make good use of our infantry guns as usual, and the T-34 is your best friend on this map. We also have a few Su-76Ms, which are not very strong, and I think they're just here so that they occupy the specialist step slot. Alright, so that's about units. The AI is not going to receive any reinforcements. It's going to receive 1 step in most turns. Not every turn, I believe, but in most turns it's going to receive 1 step each, so it's not scary or anything. So strategy. Well, regarding Novgorod, it's very simple. We cross the river here. This hex is empty, and wait. And then the next turn we assault the city with this unit, which will be probably repulsed and will suffer huge casualties, but it will breach the defending unit. It breaches it with like a 90% chance, so you will have a very good chance of breaching it, removing the entrenchment. Also on that turn, we move this unit forward, believe it or not, because by then we have allocated most of our forces to this area. Cross it with another identical unit, and on turn 3 we bombard it from 3 sides, and if need be, which is the case in most attempts, we will move our shuffle units about and bring in, for instance, this one or this one, and destroy the remaining units, and hope that we can move in with something halfway decent. I got very, very lucky on this attempt, not with the destruction or capture of the city. That, as I've said, that is figured out. But I only managed to capture it with a very weak unit, and it still managed to hold out. I think I get very lucky. In the extreme south, I never figured out what to do with these units. If you cross the river, you cannot go any further than that, because then you will start running out. You're still in supply directly on the opposite bank, but that's not going to help you much. And the AI is going to reallocate these units constantly. Already in turn 1, it's going to start reallocating them northwards. So, and if you start pushing towards the south very early on, then it's going to actually allocate them to the west, and then you will lose. But I'll get back to this in a moment. So what I figured was the best option, I'm not saying this is objectively the best, but that was my best idea, is to kind of threaten to cross, to fight here and there, to occasionally engage in good trades. We outnumber the Axis, and especially with the reinforcements we get, so a one-on-one trade is always recommended, or is always advantageous for us. Another thing that I forgot to mention, never leave this hex empty, because it contains our supply hex, so this should be held by a decent unit. Alright, so that's so much for the eastern front sectors. Now in the north, what we are going to eventually do is cut them off around here, and thereby severing the supply lines. Supply starts with 8 from here, and when it has to go through forests and swamps, then it slows down considerably. So once we manage to make a dent, a lot of these units will start to run dry. The AI doesn't really have a chance to evacuate most of them, actually, so you can starve them out. And there we will create a gap. That is not at all difficult to do. However, if you immediately start rushing to the south, the AI will reallocate these units to this front sector, and then you will lose. So what I figured was the best idea was to wait here and just keep destroying enemy formations until like turn 5, when we absolutely must start going southwards, advancing to the south. Otherwise, you simply won't make it. The AI will still reallocate units, but that's where the wearing down of these formations comes into play, and hopefully whatever they can reallocate won't be a huge problem. Alright, as for the Narva bridgehead, the only idea is to always attack to always take fights that are advantageous for us, so good trades, and slowly but surely only this unit will remain. I never attacked this one head on, and I managed to actually walk up to Narva and cross the river and just cut it off. In some attempts, I managed to starve this unit out, not on this one, but yeah, if you outnumber it heavily, then you can just destroy it. In any case, all the units that are stuck here on turn 7 won't be used anywhere else, so it's not like you need to preserve them. And what's really, really interesting is in this area, you have to be very, very mindful of the terrain. So where the rivers are, where the crossings are. So for instance, you don't need to hold this hex, because if the AI moves in, then it will be on our side of the river. It will stop moving, so it's not like it can capture our victory. It cannot do really anything. It cannot capture our supply line hex. It's basically trapped itself. So the AI is actually never falling for this bait, so you can absolutely leave this hex empty, but you need to make sure that this hex is occupied. Otherwise, the AI will rush ahead and just make sure that you are not a threat here. Also, you have to always make sure to attack units that are not in forest hexes and stuff like that. And here as well to always keep a cohesive front line. So that's it in a nutshell. Let's see how I did it. We attack this unit because it's a Luftwaffe unit. It's much weaker than anything else, and we breach it. And yes, with the second attack we destroy it. That wasn't very difficult. This is another Luftwaffe unit. It's also not very strong. But as usual, the idea is not to attack after moving with your infantry guns, because they are much weaker. And don't be afraid to spend your reinforcements points. You're receiving a whole bunch of them. So on the first turn, I practically reinforce every so I replace immediately every loss that I suffer practically. All right. I'll get back to this front line, but let's do Novgorod, move here, and just keep allocating forces to the south. I did that at least more than 5 times, that's for sure, so I know exactly what I'm doing. This is my preferred setup. As I've said, you need to keep a unit here. I prefer this unit. This is actually the worthless, the least important unit we have, because its specialist step is the worst. So we are converging upon Novgorod, and we didn't make any attack. That is totally intentional. Do not attack across the river. It will be bad for your health. All right. Now in the north, we are also making a breakthrough here. This unit is on an open hex, and once breached, it's not very strong. You will need to be very careful how you shuffle your units around. And as I've said, you can leave this hex open. That's absolutely fine. There is nothing here that can be dangerous for you. I always assault this unit. A one-on-one trade is preferable, but I do make sure that I keep this bridge occupied. And now all I did at the end was just to make sure that I advanced as far as I could, that I exploited this breakthrough. We give up on this supply source. The AI is not going to capture it. It's not at all important. As you can see, our supply in the north at least is very stable, and it's great. In the south, I always move this unit north, and that's it. That's all I do in the extreme southeast. Now let's see the AI's first turn. As usual, it moves out its unit out of entrenchment, which is perfect for us, but it also moves a lot of moves in front of us, so it creates another front line. I don't know why this one is here, but as long as it's not cut off, it's literally sitting on a supply line hex, as you can see. But what you can also see is that some of its units are already out of supply. That's why capturing this hex is kind of important, because then supply is forced to go through the forests, and some of the units are going to start running dry already. The AI reacts as always by retreating to this, which is exactly what we want to do. Interesting, it likes to gather up its forces in this pocket for some reason. Now the AI, as long as it can, is always going to attack with the Nordland, and that's always going to be painful, as of course. This one unit is not that strong, and that's basically it. After a bit more reshuffling by the AI, we get control back. Alright, turn 2, it's time to assault Novgorod. This is going to be very funny, but first, this unit is stronger than most, but it's out in the open, so let's destroy it. Not entrenched anymore, and it's nothing special, so let's assault it. I even use this one to assault it. We suffer casualties, but the one-on-one trade is fine, as I've mentioned. And if you get a good opportunity, like use your guns. Like here, we didn't suffer any casualties, and we caused casualties. That's always that's always a trade you want to take with the Soviets, because we already outnumber the Axis formations. So over time, these small victories will add up, and it will help you to make the enemy forces crumble. Now here around Novgorod, you have to assault it, and this is painful, always painful. This actually wasn't that bad. There were occasions when this unit survived with 1+1 step only. And move it ahead. This is a very bold move, but you cannot move it back. There is no point to it, not much point to it. And move everything around here. You can always cross the river. Here the AI always moves its units in these formations. So we are on the other side of the river threatening, but keep this one in reserve, because we will need to assault the city with it. Most likely you will need to assault the city with it on your attempt as well. In the north, I really want to destroy the Netherlands, and it doesn't go without any problems, but yeah. As I've said, we received reinforcements on this turn as well. And yeah, it caused us a few casualties, but we can replenish our casualties. And as I've said, a one-on-one trade is always good. A two-on-one trade is excellent. So let's destroy this Felt Luftwaffe unit. Now, when you are faced with such a situation, you might think it would be a great idea to cut this unit off. But then it will just march into your supply source, and that's not a good thing. So you actually have to prioritize that. I was happy that I managed to box it in anyway. it can obviously it can march back to its own lines, but at the very least the AI gets spooked when faced with such a situation. And what I'm trying to say here is always make sure that you are defending your supply source. You don't need to and that's very difficult on this map. Do not over allocate and do not under allocate either. Alright, as you can see on turn 2 for the AI, some of its units are already half depleted. Very few, granted, but these units won't be able to attack, and in the next turn they will be totally worthless, so that's how you take these out. And most of these units are out of supply, actually. And yeah, they are making a valiant effort, but they won't make it back, obviously. And this is actually something we want to see. As long as these units are allocated towards the north, they're not allocated towards the west, so success, I guess. And yeah, as I've said, the AI is going to constantly reinforce this 19th Waffengrenadier Division. Alright, turn 3, we have to capture Novgorod on this turn. The way it goes is you use this unit to attack first. And you will suffer casualties, this is inevitable. Then shoot across the river. Yep, this is normally not something I would recommend, but that's what it is. I actually got pretty unlucky in this attempt. In most cases you actually can do a much better work. And yeah, and it still didn't die, so I absolutely had to do everything else. And the only unit that could move into the victory hex was this one. It's 3+1 step strong. It's actually going to be resupplied. And I thought that the AI would recapture it. It will try to, and in most cases it probably would have, but we got lucky. But to be perfectly fair, in most attempts I actually can manage to capture and hold this city with a much stronger unit, like for instance this one, or rather this one. So so a unit that can hold its own, that's definitely. And actually the way things turned out, I think we got pretty lucky. Alright, once again in the north I see what they're aiming for, and this is not a very clever move by the AI. What happened now is that we managed to cut them off once again, and we managed to destroy one unit without casualties. We are very slowly advancing, but very cautiously as well. Don't forget these units are still fully supplied, so yeah, don't rush this map. And yeah, these I hesitate to call them battles, are nothing to write home about. Now what I am trying to do is I'm trying to make the Nordland do moves, actions that are not beneficial for it. But it's actually the AI smart is going to crawl back into defending the victory axe. There have been occasions where I've managed to cut it off completely, and circled it almost completely, and it ran out of supply. Then you can just remove it. On this attempt, it wasn't that successful, but yeah, that's the best I could do. Once again, I'm not sure I have this map figured out completely, I'll be honest. Alright, this is all for the west, yep, or the northwestern front sector. This unit will be destroyed in the next turn, and we'll just have to advance towards Narva slowly but surely. You can already see that we are almost next to it, and it's only due on turn 7, but we are barely going to capture it on turn 7, so you'll see. Once again, favorable trades are always something you want to take, and that was our turn. As for the AI, it's not going to do much. It's trying to recapture the victory hex, because then we will have lost the brilliant victory, and we get extremely lucky. I mean, a 1 to 4 trade is excellent, and afterwards we make a 1 to 3 trade. So this unit actually destroyed 5 steps, which is, sorry, 6 steps. I apologize. No, 7. Maths is hard. So 4 plus 3 steps, and yeah, that's actually excellent. This means that this unit, and by the way, I don't know why the AI didn't attack with more units. It could have attacked with this one or this one, and definitely would have destroyed it and recaptured, so made us lose the map. But this is great. It will be much easier to deal with these straggler units now. The Nordland retreated and assaulted as usual, and yeah, there is nothing we can do about it. But the situation in the northwest is great, actually. I was about to say it's okay, but it's excellent. We just need to hurry. In the northeast, it's also okay-ish, with half of the units are now deployed, depleted, not deployed, depleted. And here around Novgorod, it's pretty dicey, but I'm pretty sure we can, at the very least, hold the city with this unit, and it will hold it against all of these units assaulting it. So I'm not really afraid that we'll lose it. The goal here now is to cause as many casualties as we can. So let's see what's happening. Oh, and we need to get this unit back to supply, because otherwise it is going to be unable to attack. This was a deliberate assault. I could have moved this unit out and withdrawn this unit, but instead I decided that this unit was forfeit. We free up the space where it is. Reorganizing it didn't make much of a sense. It's actually better that we caused this unit one suppression casualty. Now we send the T-34s across. And fortunately this unit retreated, which means we can retreat too. Our unit is not in supply. I mean, this one is not in supply at the moment, but the next turn it can crawl back into, next to the river, and hopefully it will survive. It will survive, by the way. We draw this unit back into supply as well, so right next to the river. And these three units can offer no real resistance, so let's assault them. Yeah, that went worse than I expected. And this actually went far worse than I expected. Yeah, but in any case, we at least removed it from its position, and we advance across the river. That is not like important, crucial or anything, but our supply now reaches across. Hooray, and it's not like it's in any danger. Nothing is going to remove this unit. We cross the river in the south, and that's not, like, as I've said, it's not crucial, but I want to cause the enemy casualties so that these units are not available elsewhere. Okay, in the northwest, what we want to do are two things. Destroy this unit. That's not going to be a problem. And it isn't. And we want to start sending these two units to the south. They are the ones poised to capture Pskov. They are very strong, and yeah, that's it. That all our hopes rests with them. With the other ones, maybe I over-allocated a bit, but with the other ones, the idea is to destroy these two units here and capture the Victory Axe here. All right. Now you absolutely must walk along the supply axe, and around this area it actually is quicker to cut through to the west, and here too. But with at least one unit you have to capture the supply axe, otherwise all the supply route hexes, otherwise you will run out of supply approaching Pskov. So that means that first of all you should send more than one unit, definitely at least two, maybe three would have been better. And yeah, that your path is absolutely given, so you don't have any choices which way to choose. All right. Dia is not going to attempt to recapture the town now, and what I was very happy about is that it moved its forces here, so that it alleviated pressure on the middle front around Novgorod, where we can deal with these units more easily. On the other hand, these can at any time these units can start marching westwards, which I'm not happy about, but that's still okay. Yeah, as usual, the Nordland attacks, and the first move westward has happened. The AI is realizing the danger, and it's actually moved this extremely weak unit here. This is of course not going to stop us, but more units will follow, and yeah, so these spearhead units that that is going to drive the wedge. We'll have to have quite a few battles ahead of them. As I've said, I'm pretty sure there is like a better strategy here, which I never figured out. In the northwest, we know exactly what we do. We try to box them in as much as we can, and the next turn, on turn 6, we can capture Narva. This is late. Now usually I actually manage to capture this area sooner, and then you can start until they run. You can starve them out. You can wait until they run dry. And this attempt, it's clear that we have to take the city, or not city, this is a forest hex, this Victory Hex, by assaulting it. So the idea is that we will use all these infantry guns the next turn to assault them. And once it's dead, or once we have cut them off, the Nordland will slowly run out of supply, and then we can destroy it. Not that it's dangerous. The only danger is that it's either cutting us off from supply, or recapturing the Victory Axe, but it's going to do neither. It's just going to die. All right. here, of course, we are going to continue destroying straggler Axis units, which is excellent. This unit is out in the open, so it's not on a forest X or anything. And as you can see, this is going very poorly and slowly, but yeah, this is the objective we have currently. Yep, small scale casualties I don't mind, and a bit of reshuffling. You really have to be very good at reshuffling units on this map. This one crawled back to supply. It will be resupplied here, that's for sure. I checked it. And the city X will be held by an excellent unit. The AI is not going to attempt to assault this one. If it did, it would die, so that's great. Alright. The idea here was to make this unit join to the advancing units from the west. I was figuring these two infantry divisions won't be enough, so it will be joined. This assault will be joined by this third one. It is walking out of supply. It has walked out of supply, but it will reconnect next to this supply route, so that's fine. In the south, once again, take one-on-one or better trades. That's the name of the game. All right, turn 5 is over. Let's hand over control to the AI. The AI is retreating. It's realizing what's happening. It actually misunderstood. I didn't mean this unit to to like join the advance to Pskov, but I think the AI thought it that way. So, and this unit is also advanced, retreating towards the victory hex. A lot of movements happened. This unit bothered me. In the next turn, it definitely would be able to cut us off. For some reason, it never did, but it could have. This unit is walking to Pskov, and it will occupy it. This will be the one heroically defending it. And of course, one of our best units is totally surrounded, but that's not really a problem. Like, we definitely can get it back, you know, to the river. So let's see what happens on turn 6. First of all, we destroyed this unit. And with the other advancing unit, we actually have to walk in an unfavorable terrain. But as I've said, we need to clear out all the supply line hexes. In the northeast, we can clear out the enemy units already. It's not like they present any threat or danger. Now this one did, and there is nothing I can do about it. It's strong enough that I don't want to assault it head on. And yeah, I mean, we block it now. It won't be able to capture our supply hex, source hex, so to speak, but it could cut us off. And it won't be able to resupply. None of these units will, as we keep marching forwards. The enemy supply starts from here now, so that's great. Now let's turn attention to Narva, and we will breach the infantry unit. And since we have cut it off from supply, we can assault it. Even suppression damage will be like permanent, so it's not like I'm afraid of it resupplying. And that's as far as we got here. On the next turn, they will still be able to attack, but they won't be able to reinforce, and we just have to survive one more turn against the Nordland. We will definitely capture this victory X the next turn, and then we can finish off the Nordland. So it's all good. The question is whether there is a more efficient way to do it with less units allocated, but that's up to you, I guess. All right. And this unit managed to link up. As long as the supply line is intact, it will be all fine. So our plan worked out perfectly. Yep. Don't be afraid to assault totally depleted units, as always. Or units with one step. Now this one we need to pull back to supply, and that was the best method I found, the best solution. Not that I'm not saying that's brilliant, but that's the best I could think of. And the idea here is it's a ruse. So it's not I'm not planning to use these units to assault to the west yet, at least. But the idea, at least in the southeast, was that we could threaten. I was hoping this unit would turn back, or it would allocate more forces against us. If we can, we are still going to link up with the main thrust, don't get me wrong, but the primary objective of these units is not that. It's simply to draw forces away from elsewhere, from the actual little battle group that is poised to capture Pskov. All right. Turn 6, that, as you can see, my plan didn't work out. This unit realized the threat, and it's going to move into Pskov. There is nothing we can do about it. We cannot reach it in this turn, so in the next turn it will occupy the victory X. We'll have to get out of there once we get there. But at the very least, it will reallocate some forces here, so my plan, I guess, halfway worked out. Alright, in the north, this is the last assault that the Netherlands did, and I was very, very happy with this move. This unit definitely could have cut us off here, somewhere, and that would have indeed been very bad for the main assault force, especially this unit. It would have been out of supply for 2 turns, so that would have been horrible. Instead, it's trying to retreat, but this situation is totally hopeless, so I'm very happy for this. And the AI, as usual, realizes that this unit is going to be the one holding the victory X, so it starts reinforcing it. I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it. Alright, turn 7, let's clear out this. Oops, sorry about this. Turn 7. Let's start by clearing out these remaining stragglers in the northeast. They're still holding the front line, kind of. Not really, I mean, not really holding. Bang. Now we can move all these units. Once again, there is no point in reorganizing them. We will lose the specialist steps, and you get a whole bunch of steps as reinforcements anyway. It's not like you need them. So, although I think we have run out at this point, whatever. Here the idea really is to just cause casualties so that, yeah, the AI gets weaker in general. It's not like, I didn't figure out a better solution for these units. Alright, let's progress, and as you can see, it's far quicker to walk along in this area. But we will absolutely have to capture all of these supply route hexes, and we will the next turn. That's fine. Here in the southeast, everything is fine, and I'm thinking these units will keep threatening, so hopefully the AI will allocate more forces against them. They will run out of supply, which is fine. They can even die as long as they drag units away from the main front sector. And this is the idea here too. I knew this would be a disadvantageous battle, but as long as we are, you know, holding them here, that's okay. And at this moment, this unit lost its specialist step, which was an SU-76. I don't mind that, and that means we can reallocate at least 1 unit from elsewhere. Now let's capture Narva bridgehead in the north, as we absolutely must on this turn, and of course we succeed. We capture it. We capture the supply source hex just to make sure, and we reorganize this unit. Its steps, including the gun, will be put to use. You know, will be better used on this unit. Next turn, the Northland won't be able to attack, so we're all safe. And on turn 8 or turn 9, the latest, we can destroy it definitely. We just make sure it doesn't rush ahead and doesn't do anything crazy. All right. The turns are starting to become quicker as the AI has, and well, unfortunately we as well have fewer and fewer units to move. There is a general retreat here. So there is a general retreat in the south. The AI can do nothing, but these units actually will get back in supply. It doesn't really matter. Our goal is to arrive at Pskov before these units do, so that's okay. The Northland is hopeless. In a hopeless situation, so is this straggler infantry division, so there's nothing it can do. And on our turn 8, we are approaching the final objective. And since we need to win the next turn, we can actually be cut off. I don't mind if we are cut off from supply. These 3 units will have to do the trick. This is going to be a close one. At the very least, we can take out revenge on other units, I guess. All these moves are inconsequential practically. Yeah, maybe not this one, but yeah, that one also didn't work out very well. But supply runs from here. It's actually, I think most of these units won't be in supply the next turn. I mean the excess units. All right, we lost a unit. Not that it matters. But we also caused the AI some casualties, so that's good. All right. And we advance bravely with this unit as well. There is no point. It cannot reach the victory X the next turn, so it's just for fun. And we also try to surround Nordland, make sure that it doesn't recapture the victory X or cut us off from anywhere, and next turn we'll just finish it off. Alright, D I cannot do much. It will retreat. Almost all of these units are in supply. Interestingly, it didn't cut us off. It could have, but for some reason it chose not to again. And now you can see the problem. The problem is that we have 3 units that can reach at all the victory X, which is held by an infantry unit with 4 steps, 4 and a suppressed 4 plus 1 suppressed steps. This is not going to be an easy trick. But anyway, let's try it. We assault. This goes extremely poorly. We got repulsed actually. This is in turn 9. We have to win this turn, so we throw everything at it. This was horrible. And the second assault, interestingly, makes the unit flee. This is a very rare occurrence in this game. We didn't cause it any casualty. Normally you cause 1 KIA and then the unit flees. And at this moment I know we won. This unit can march in. So we actually finally won this map after so many attempts. But so since that's the case, let's turn to the destruction of the remaining straggler units, and you know, do some useless actions. Yep. We do destroy the Nordland because it caused us, sorry, the Nederland, because it caused us, no, was the Nordland, I was correct. So we do destroy the Nordland motorized division because it caused us a lot of grief. And yeah, they don't resist, they totally run out of ammo, I guess. Yep. And we're just having the time of our life. We even destroy this straggler Jäger unit, and yep, and just march in after a few moments. Alright, so that was the campaign scenario Leningrad. I know that at first glance it looks really great, like we captured everything on time and only 2 AI controlled units remain. I don't think they could recapture it the next turn. I mean, this unit will defend itself, and obviously we will be able to finish off these 2 straggler units. But I still don't feel confident that this is the way to do it, and that this is this is a clean victory. There might have been other strategies that could have been used. I highly recommend, if you're struggling with it, I highly recommend you use my strategy around Novgorod. I think that is pretty clean, so do that. And regarding Narva, also you might try another approach, and you might try to destroy the Nordland motorized division. Then it would be probably easier, and you can allocate more forces towards the south. Maybe that's the key, I don't know. If you leave that one, if you don't destroy it, then you absolutely must allocate so many units as I did, as many units as I did, otherwise they will counterattack and you will be cut off. Alright, so that's done. That's completed. That was Leningrad. The next maps are going to be actually far easier from my perspective, or for me at least, they were far easier. So I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time as well. Bye bye.